am I gonna watch the My Anime List video? I'm very much considering it. Yeah, you know what? We got this one here. Nobody cares about how many anime you've seen. We don't talk about how much anime I've seen. We don't. Those are that's a basic number. 1,500. That's a little low. we don't talk about how much anime I've seen. Brodie's the one on the left. Yeah, maybe a few years ago. I don't know what the number is. My list is not up to date at this point. Yeah, I'm not certain. Probably closer to 2, maybe even more. Disclaimer. In linguistics, what the fuck is this? What the sorry, what the fuck is this disclaimer? Okay.
Recently, I hit 500 completed anime on...
That's not bad. That's not bad. What is my weave scale? I have like 300. A little bit less than this guy, apparently.
My anime list. A number which many of you are probably thinking, is that it?
How many years ago was this? 3? Yeah, okay. Mine's 1912. Again, we don't talk about my number.
Of which I say ridiculous, but I can understand why, because some people in the community can boast incredibly high numbers of completed anime.
The problem is, a lot of the series... My number is very high, because I used to watch a lot of utter garbage as a kid. Let's just go back... Let me go back to... Summer 2014. Let's go with that one. Did this one have some rough series? Actually, this is a pretty solid season, all things considered. Actually, it does still have some bad shit in it. For example, where did it go? This is a good series. Go watch Zonkyo no Terra. Very good series. Free Eternal Summer. I still need to get around to seeing that at some point. A lot of this, honestly, this season was pretty solid. Momokyun's Sword is not very good. I did watch that. That's rough. I think I watched Bakamatsu Rock. I don't recall. Yeah, this was like a weirdly good season for the time. Fuck. Let's just keep going. Summer 2015. It's got to be a bad season in here somewhere. Ooh, yeah, we got some stuff. The God Eater anime is... Oh, here we go. Here we go. This was like the middle of Battle High School. This is bottom tier Battle High School harem series. Just utter garbage. Ranpo Kitan was also pretty terrible. Chaos Dragon is fucking awful. Hey, but you do get Symphogia GX. Gatchaman Crowd's also fucking amazing. Sodeg, oh my... We're gonna get sidetracked again by all the anime I've seen. But like, I used to watch basically everything that aired. And there were seasons where I was watching like maybe 5 or 6 just utter garbage.
Properties going into, well, the thousands, the 2000s. And with it, though, comes this
Prison Skill's fun.
troubling notion that this number of completed works is somehow representative or an indicator of one's overall general knowledge on anime, or
Why are you saying anime like that? I will say, I don't care about your opinion if the number is less than... I will listen to your opinion if it's higher than 30. Oh, is that the disclaimer? Like, if you haven't seen, at a bare minimum, like, 30 series, I don't really care about your opinion on anything. Because if you, like, you know, if you've seen, like, Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer, Naruto, and One Piece, like, I don't care what you have to say. But, like, if you've at least experienced a couple of genres, you've watched some of the classic, like, at least some of them, right? Like, you don't have to watch everything, but, like, would you listen to the opinion of someone who talks about carpentry, who has made a table, right? What if they have 50 entries? It's all... I'm not going to count sequels as different entries. Like, at least, like, 30 different series.
General value of opinion on both individual shows and anime as a whole. This exists in all sorts of fandoms, of course, from film bros on Letterboxd to music snobs on, I don't know, people still go on the Mew board on 4chan. But my particular focus today is on the anime community and sites like My Anime List, AniList, etc. Some go as far to even gatekeep, saying things along the lines of, "Don't talk to me unless you've seen 500 anime." Said semi-ironically.
500, look, yes, I will say that as a joke, but, like, legitimately, there is a threshold number, right? Again, you're not going to listen to someone about carpentry who has made a table, right? You're not going to listen to someone... like, if you're going to get driving advice, you're not going to listen to someone who's been driving for, like, a month, right? It's the same sort of thing. If you're going to get, I don't know. Here we go. If you're going to get coaching on how to play golf, I expect you to have actually, like, played some golf.
And as a joke, but worryingly only semi. To a degree, I can understand where this idea comes about. The more anime you've seen, the more you get exposed to the ins and outs of the industry, the underlying language of how anime works, and it can paint a broader picture for individual subgenres and movements.
Sure.
Conversely, it's very common to see people who have seen comparatively few anime, maybe only a handful on Netflix, comment and complain on things in a very reductive way, in an almost sort of Dunning-Kruger fashion. But this is not such a clear-cut matter. There are many factors that go into one's overall knowledge of the anime landscape, and to that individual number of watched anime itself. Let's go into unnecessary detail about both of those things. I'm sure most of you have had the experience of hearing somebody who doesn't really watch or like anime make a very bad take about
Sure.
it. Maybe they watch some re-uploaded TikTok video of a dramatic middle school fight.
Actually, you know what? Here's something I will say. I don't care how much anime you've seen. If you've consumed a series through TikTok Reels or TikTok fucking Instagram Reels or TikTok videos, if that's the only way that you've experienced the series, I actually just don't care how much. I don't care. I don't care if you've seen 1 series or 1,000 series. I legitimately don't care about anything you have to say if you've only watched, like, TikTok fucking aura edits, which, to be fair, is how half the people have watched Solo Leveling.
And described it as very anime. Or maybe they say they don't like anime other than Ghibli for being weird, when the only anime they've ever tried to watch is something like fucking Iki Torsen or some shit. And that attitude can be very frustrating. The getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes from this meme exists for a reason. But more exposure doesn't always exactly equal better opinions. You don't immediately gain better insight or critical thinking solely from consumption. Let's consider a hypothetical person who has only seen 24 anime. You might be very quick to dismiss any sort of critical thought or thing they might have to say about anime. But honestly, we just don't know enough about this person solely based on one number.
Sure, I think if you've watched 24 and you've given yourself like a range of series, I do think there's at least something to be had there. But again, if you watch 24 series and it's just like 24 shonen series, like, right?
Maybe they're mainly a manga guy. They could have read thousands
That's
of
true.
them. They
Fair,
just prefer
fair.
the way that reading manga lets you go at your own pace. Or maybe they're super into JRPGs and visual
Sure.
novels. Maybe they've played countless of them. And they tend to just watch the anime adaptations of their favorite games. They could have a huge interest in world animation in general. Maybe they're a Japanese cinema buff. They could have studied Japanese at university.
Sure.
Hell, perhaps they even lived in Japan for a time. Or maybe they aren't any of these, but those 24 anime they have seen, they absolutely love. And they have enough of a background in media theory and critical thinking, and enough integrity to try to properly analyze the work while seeking out appropriate citations. Conversely, another hypothetical person has logged over 1,000 anime, but they've never read a manga.
Dropped 300? Man, I've dropped way less than that. That's crazy. How do you get... Wait, if you've seen over 1,000 series, how in the world would you only have... Do you just add nothing to your plan to watch? My plan to watch doesn't go down.
Visual novel in their life. They don't really care about Japan at large, they have no media theory chops, and they largely put it on in the background while they play games with their friends or do chores. Now, there was nothing wrong with watching anime in that way. I mean, however people want to use their free time, that's whatever. I'm not
Sure.
the friggin' media police or anything like that. But I would definitely trust any structured criticism coming from the first case over the second. One single number does not tell us
It depends on what it is. I think it's hard to... If you've only seen a few series... And let's say you don't have like a other background in Japanese media. I think it's hard to really talk about, especially things like tropes, and actually tropes are a really big one. It's hard to have a conversation on tropes if you don't have a wide landscape of knowledge of tropes that are common, right? Like you can have an approximation based on things you've heard, but unless you actually have that experience, it's really hard to make that sort of judgment. I just stopped marking things as plan to watch. Understandable.
About a person other than how much they've consumed. Or rather, how much they've consumed and then felt the need to update onto their profile.
Yeah,
It also
that's
doesn't
another
tell us
thing.
what kind of anime they watch, which is just as prevalent a boss baby vibes problem within the community as it is outside of it. For example, I like to think that I have an open mind and fairly broad tastes, but you can see some very easy patterns across my list.
Sure.
I love comedy, nichijou-kei and yashikei, science fiction, fantasy, and anything that has a sort of focus on the minutiae of the main characters' lives. And this is reflected in the kind of anime that I tend to talk about on this channel. Conversely, I've seen next to no sports, magical girl, or idol shows, despite these having very sizable representation.
Well, idol male. We don't watch those
in
ones.
anime. Because they're just not genres that particularly appeal to me. With that mindset,
You need
if
more
I were to
Yuri,
watch
though.
and review, say, a show like Haikyuu, and then start to make unsubstantiated claims about sports anime in general, fans of the show and the genre itself would probably be very understandable.
Honestly, I think more people need to watch more sports anime. People are like weirdly... It's gotten better now, but people have always been kind of like weirdly averse to sports anime because they don't like real-world sports. I don't know shit about volleyball. Haikyuu's amazing.
Set.
Not good. No.
Unfortunately, this is not just a hypothetical, and happens all the time towards shows that become part of the popular discourse. If a show within the genre becomes popular enough, AniTube and AniTwitter often feel the need to throw in their inflammatory to
I will never forget how AniTubers tried to gaslight people into thinking Sword Art Online is bad. They spent so long trying to gaslight people into thinking SAO is bad. Thankfully, people have sort of like come around to it over the years. Right now, it's happening with Rent-A-Girlfriend. There's a reason why it's got 5 fucking seasons. Specifically, Mother's Basement. Yes, Mother's Basement was a big one there.
sense, showing open disrespect for the genre. Usually with some sort of attached thing of, this one is different though, because I like this one. I don't like the other ones, I like this one because it's me. People are quick to bemoan about how isekai are all the same and super...
As a verified isekai watcher, a lot of it. This is not just even like. This is not even just like a viewer thing. Kadokawa knows that this is a problem. They have been reporting lower sales because this is legitimately a problem. There is a lot of isekai slop that comes out where a lot of it, is it 53% down? Yeah. And this was 3 years ago. He didn't know. He didn't know how bad it was gonna get. There is legitimately a problem where you have 3 or 4 series that come out every season, which are basically the same thing. Now, you get your standout isekai. Slime is a notable example. And I know people are like, Slime, it's fucking Zoom calls in another world. Slime's great. Isekai Nonbiri Noka. This is another series which is very good that's airing right now. This is My Farming Life in Another World. Very good series. Obviously, you have things like Mushoku Tensei. And I know Mushoku Tensei has that, like, traditional isekai formula, but it does it so fucking well. You have other things like Reincarnated as a Sword. I know some people aren't a fan, but Shield Hero. The problem is you get a lot of these series where it's like, I'm reincarnated, this is another world. I have the weakest vending machine. No, vending machine's also great. I'm reincarnated in another world. I have the weakest class. Oh, but it turns out my weakest class is actually the strongest class. Like, also Konosuba, that's another one, Overlord. There's a lot of these very similar setups, though. Have I seen Mao? I wasn't vibing with it. Is SAO good? Yes.
Cliche and saturating the industry, despite
He didn't know. Hits 3. He didn't know. Yeah, cheat skill, kick from my party, useless skill that's actually OP. A recent one that's been happening is the I've been reincarnated as a villainous. Reincarnated as a villainous is like, it's still a new one. It's still not very overdone, but it's getting there. It is very much getting there. What's the one airing this season? Oh, standout one for this season though is this one. The main character gets isekai'd in. He keeps getting constantly isekai'd into these new worlds, and basically the idea is all of the good worlds have been like they have a waiting list to get isekai'd into them. So he is just given basically a randomly generated bullshit. Oh, you're getting reincarnated as the doorknob for the demon lords. One of them was he was reincarnated as the left door of the demon lord's dungeon or something like that. Or I was reincarnated as a torch. I was reincarnated as the minute hand on a clock tower. And it's just basically, it's this episodic series going through the just bullshit journey of being isekai'd with these nonsense abilities. I was reincarnated as the pillowcase for the hero, things like that. Sorry, the one I was trying to think of this season. Where is the villainous one? Fuck, what was it called? There's 2 of them airing this season. For some reason, did I scroll past it? Where was it? Kanon sama shinkashito. Kamina. Where the fuck is it? Yo sensei. No, it's not that one. Where the fuck is it? This list isn't that long. Why can I not find it? Am I stupid? Or is it an O&A? Oh, it was an O&A, that's why. This one, I think, This one's doing the reincarnated as a villainous in an interesting way. This series doesn't take place from the perspective of the girl who's reincarnated as the villainous. Instead, it takes place from the perspective of the guy in the world. So basically, half the series is him just thinking she's making up bullshit until he starts realizing that she actually does have knowledge of events that are not happening, and he's basically trying to steer her away from the events of the game because he doesn't want to deal with any of the villainous bullshit. It's fun. I do enjoy it.
The fact they've only seen like 3 of them. They'll say that the particular magical girl show that they like is good because it's gothic and the characters actually die, unlike other magical girl shows. Despite the fact that all those attributes are appropriate to describe fucking Sailor Moon. And if I see the phrase, unlike other mecha shows, one more goddamn fucking time. There is nothing wrong with simply not being interested in a genre. And conversely, there's nothing wrong with a newcomer.
Speaking of watching anime, I just started Marriage Toxin. Marriage Toxin is really good. There's a shocking amount of MHA voice actors in it. I did not realize that. But Marriage Toxin is very fun. Very, very fun series. If you don't know the series, basically the idea is the main character, he's a poison master. He's an assassin. But we don't care about that. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's off to the side. The main focus is the main character is trying to find a wife.
Watching something in an unfamiliar genre and sharing their thoughts. But my point is, anime is a rich, broad collection of subgenres and trends that unless you have a perfectly balanced portion of watched genres, which is unlikely, no number is going to be high enough to make you an expert on all of them.
I don't really comment on mecha series because
The other biggest problem
what mecha series have I watched? Gurren Lagann, Robotics Notes, Code Geass is technically a mecha series. Gridman, yeah, Gridman. I'm watching Snowball Earth right now. 8-6. Yeah, that's yeah. This is why I don't talk about mecha series.
these seen X amount of anime statements.
There's maybe like 2 or 3 others and not coming to mind. Yeah, there's not many of them.
How do you quantify exactly one anime? Those sites like Mal do have features to track the number of watched hours, the number of individual episodes, and things like that. What most people tend to only focus on is the hardline number of individual works. But this number is incredibly easy to cheese, because anime can vary widely in all matters of duration. For example,
Metabots? No.
Ai is an incredibly short video by independent animator Rapparu, which consists of a single shot. Despite only having a runtime of 7 seconds, marking it complete is counted the same as marking the entirety of the original Doraemon complete, a show that has nearly 1,800 10-minute long episodes. The experience and effort of watching these two properties is in no way comparable, yet they are both counted as one
Macross?
single anime. Now, most examples aren't that extreme, but the fact is that watching a short film or an OVA takes much less time and commitment in comparison to a multi-core TV series. And while I love this about anime as a whole, in that you have variety of options,
Oh, Darling in the Franxx. Forgot about that one.
it is all too easy to go on a bender of watching a bunch of music videos and short films on YouTube just to get a bunch of easy ads. Don't get me wrong, I've been guilty of this too, but it ties into this weird sort of completionist pressure that the community gives off as a whole. Even with anime of more comparable length, there is the issue of how these sites tend to count seasons as individual shows. Considering how production-wise in Japan a season is closer to a sequel, this makes some amount of sense. But as it's based on what is considered a season in the Japanese broadcast, not in the Western release, This leads to situations where a show like Agretsuko counts as 4 anime, well 6 if you include the original TV bumpers and the Christmas special, while One Piece, in its long uninterrupted glory, is counted as just 1.
Yeah, and then Crunchyroll's like, hey guys, this is One Piece Season 12? Like, what the fuck does that mean? I think like, Crunchyroll and various other sites break it down into arcs. Yeah.
It also means if you're a fan of an overall franchise, you can add a lot more properties to MAL compared to a 1 or 2 core single TV show release. If you're an Attack on Titan fan, for example, and you watch all of the OVAs and specials and all the extras, etc., you can add a whopping 20 properties to MAL. Compare that to Monster, a show which has a comparable number of episodes to the main storyline of Titan, where you can only add 3, 2 of which are simple recap specials.
I never got around to Monster.
Into the question of what exactly counts as completed, and whether it is synonymous with seen. I'm sure many of you remember the video a while back of the guy who edited all of Naruto to exclude all of the filler, or well, more precisely, what he considered to be the filler, because, you know, it's a useless and completely arbitrary term. He did so to make it a...
Filler's a weird one, because traditionally, filler meant non-source material content. The problem is people now use filler to mean boring stuff that I don't want to watch. Giving time for the manga to get ahead. Exactly. So I believe that like the last arc of original Naruto is all like anime original content. There's a lot of series that are like that. People who are fans of Twin Star Exorcist fucking hate the anime because half the anime is just nothing to do with the manga. Soul Eater's real bad for it as well. A lot of people really want a Soul Eater remake because the second half just... they caught up too quickly. Original FMA as well, you know, they go to Germany. I love Twin Star Exorcist manga, it's so good. People have been rediscovering the manga, and I do need to get around to actually reading it at some point.
A better viewing experience for his girlfriend. While that might make for a more streamlined and consumable viewing experience, I have a question for you. Would you be okay if his girlfriend added Naruto and Shippuden as completed on MAL? In the case of the first series, almost the entire...
A lot of, especially... One Piece is in a very, very weird state. There are some shots in the One Piece anime where the manga, it's maybe 2 panels, and the anime is like, how do we turn this into 3 minutes? One Piece pacing is very, very strange.
The entire back half is completely filler and therefore skipped. And Shippuden's filler arcs are frequent and fucking wild.
I will say that I skipped the last, 30 episodes of Naruto, whenever the fucking last filler arc starts, because I did not want to deal with it. And I watched most of the filler arcs for Shippuden. I skipped a lot of the war stuff, because I didn't want to I watched, 2 of it, this is just... The problem with a lot of the anime-only stuff, it's one thing when the anime-only arcs are good. It's another thing when you're like, I can immediately tell the writing is nowhere near as good as the original. There are some cases where the anime-only arcs... No, I watched the backstory arc for during Pain. I think the only stuff I skipped in Shippuden was the dream segments during the war arc. Dressrosa in One Piece turned a single punch in 7 episodes. Yeah, that sounds about right. One Piece G5 Marine Base arc is a good example of good filler. Yeah. But yeah, when you can tell the arc is anime original because the writing is just noticeably worse. I don't really, at the end of the day, I don't really care if you skip it. Your fucking series you're watching.
And that's just based off of what is listed as a pure filler episode on Anime Filler List, aka the worst site on the internet.
Great site, actually.
In the video itself, Oceans goes into depth about how, though he kept a couple of the filler episodes that he liked and that he felt added to the story, he also cut a lot of non-filler material as well, such as excessive flashbacks, padding in the middle of fights, canon scenes that he thought were a bit too slow and he trimmed them down, and canon scenes that he just straight up didn't like, such as the entirety of Konohamaru's introduction episode.
No, okay. If you're doing that, you're not even watching Naruto at that point. I understand wanting to watch something that is closer to the source material, but if you're cutting source material content, like what are you even watching?
By his final estimation, he had cut Naruto down from 250 hours to 135 hours.
I think series like edits like One Piece, and there's another one for, I don't remember what the Naruto one is, but things like that where they're cutting out a lot of One Piece is like drawn and edited in a way because they want to make it as slow as possible so they don't catch up to the manga. One Piece has basically never had a filler arc. I want to say there's like one or two of them. Like One Piece, for how long it's run, it's impressive how little filler arcs they've had. And the reason for that is the reason why the pacing is so slow.
Meaning that his girlfriend, in the end, only watched around half of it. And as he rearranged some of the sequencing, timing, and music to match his vision of what the pacing should be, not in its intended original form. You could argue that she's completed what is in the manga's main canon storyline, except the stuff that Oceans just didn't like.
Yeah, that's
that
stupid.
She's watched Naruto and is a Naruto fan. I'd say that's totally fine in terms of experience. She's definitely seen Naruto. But I don't think she could say that she has completed it. This is the anime, not the manga, after all. Again, I don't think it's important that she's completed it. Like, she's busy, she wants to use her time wisely, it's fine. You can only stand the 15th fucking filler episode where Naruto failed the mission because he stood in dog shit or something. But it would still feel a little disingenuous to me to mark it as complete when you've ultimately ended up skipping about half of it. Again, it's all relative. If you skip, like, the recap episode, or, like, a particularly bad filler arc, or you missed an episode of Pokemon back in the day on TV, or...
Yeah, recap episodes I think are definitely a different, 100% a different case, because you're literally just rewatching the content you already saw.
Was the banned one with the guns, and so you never got to see it, and then you get to the Indigo League and Ash pulls out one of his 30 Toros, and you're like, when the fuck did you catch them, cunt? That's all fine, mark it complete. I'm not like the Mal Police or anything like that. That's like splitting hairs. But this is the reason why I have yet to add something like Bleach to my mouth. Despite being a big fan, having read the manga several times over, and having watched the first two arcs several times over, I have yet to get past the middle of the Hueco Mundo arc in the anime.
Is he Australian? I was thinking it. I'm not certain, because his accent's a bit... Yeah, he is. He's got very much like a... Very much a weird accent? I don't know what it is. There's definitely an Australian there, but he did say he'd lived in Japan for a while. So I assume his accent's become a little bit off.
And even then, I skipped the entirety of Bound because...
It's the turtleneck, probably.
I've definitely seen Bleach. Yet despite having technically watched more Bleach than the vast majority of other anime I have down on Mal, even when you add up rewatches, I could never say that I've completed it. Which therein lies my ultimate problem with this whole thing. Just because I haven't completed it, why should it be discarded entirely? Of course, if I were to do a video on Bleach or a more structured review, then that would be a different story.
Sure.
And I would want to go back and make sure I completed it to maintain integrity and know what I was talking about. But why shouldn't one of the anime I've spent the most time watching not count as part
I've never
of
seen a
my
single episode
experience
of
with
Bleach.
anime as a whole? In this day and age, people seem to believe that you haven't seen something unless you've seen absolutely all of it. This is most likely due to the modern luxury of having easy access to an entire work at once, binge culture, and just simply being spoiled for choice. But people are busy, and some anime are long, and you can definitely be a fan of something that you aren't even close to completing. Nobody
Sure,
likes
yeah,
to
yeah,
dive-
you can be... That's, yeah, you can, yeah, like, if... You can be a One Piece fan as you're watching One Piece, right? Like, I don't think anyone's gonna disagree with that, right? Like, you can... Good example. I am a fan. I am now a fan of Metal Gear. I have not finished most of the games, but the games that I have seen, I am a fan of. Can I comment on what's happened in Phantom Pain? No, I've not played it. Can I comment on what's happened in like anything else? No, I've not played it. Or like the Trails series. I am playing through Trails from Zero right now. I can't say shit about Cold Steel or Reverie or fucking I don't know. Even like the next game in the series, I can't say shit about Azure, but the games I've played, yeah, I do enjoy them. I wouldn't make a comment about the entire series, though. I'm a fan of Psychopaths and Yoda, so I decided to stop watching everything they put out because she never came back to write for it. I always forget that Psychopaths has more content than Season 1. While we're talking about that, someone should talk about anime at 2. Oh, yeah, okay. I put those in the TikTok camp. If you've only seen an anime at 2x speed, you're in the same camp to me as people who watch it through TikTok aura edits. What do you mean you're watching a series at 2 times speed? How little time is in your day that you just must consume that much?
Who asks the girl wearing the Metallica shirt to name 3 of their songs. So why should we allow the same thing in other fandoms as well? The utility of sites like Mal, Letterboxd, etc. to me is ultimately personal tracking. To remember what you've already watched, what you want to get back to or leave, to keep on top of things you want to check out, and to make new discoveries on shows that seem interesting to you. But it is all too easy when using sites like this to turn your hobby into a chore, into making it nothing more than a checklist that needs to be ticked off, like grinding levels in an RPG. I used to care a lot about this about 5 years ago. I had seen my friends with much higher Mal or Annie list numbers.
I cared about this when I was in high school, when I had the free time to care about it.
And at the time, my number was only about in the 200s or so, and I felt a weird sort of insecurity about it. So I did all of the things that I've mentioned in this part of the video. I watched easy ad music videos and OVAs.
Oh,
on
I never
YouTube.
did that.
I binged shows to complete them faster.
I
even
definitely
watched
binged
things I
shows.
wasn't even interested in just to add it to Mal. And you know
I did
what?
that with seasonals.
Kind of made me hate anime for a while. That's not the way I like to watch things. I like to watch maybe a couple shows at once, a few episodes at a time.
Why is binging bad? I don't think binging's bad at all. I've spent entire days binging a series. Again, not that much nowadays because I just don't have the fucking... I don't usually have a solid 8-hour block to watch a 20-episode series. At least more than, like... if I wanted to just not play any games, I just have other hobbies, right? I have other things I like to do besides just watching anime now. There was a period where that was pretty much all I did. Did you know that Analyst has an activity graph like GitHub does? It tries to fill out for an entire year. Always burn me out. Oh, God. Yeah, no, yeah, I wouldn't try that. Now, if it's like watching an episode a day, I do that, right? Like, going back to the seasonal list here, I don't know why it fucking does this. I do have series that come out. I don't know. Why is Annie Chart so bad? Just keep the things I've fucking selected. Oh my God. It just likes to, like, regenerate the list and then move where the green ticks are. Whatever. Point being, there are series that I'm watching every day. But if it's like, hey, I'm gonna watch a season a day? No, God, no.
Check out all the OVAs, specials, movies, etc. that there might be. Dive really deeply into that franchise for a while. That's why it's taken me so long to reach that 500 number despite watching anime for most of my adult life. And that
Oh, you
number,
started
which
as
is
an adult.
really
That
probably
makes sense.
Completely untrue anyway. And if you like to watch anime in a large volume, if you want to keep track on all the shows at once, that's totally fine. Of course, do what you want to do. But it should be because that's how you enjoy watching it. Anime should be watched, discussed, and shared because you enjoy it. Not just used to level grind to the next level cap, with no other reward than number go up. And the faint possibility that maybe, just maybe, now, some arsehole online may allow you to talk to him.
You get a funny clip when you go to an anime con and someone says, I don't give a shit about your opinion unless you've seen X number of anime. I'm guilty of fast-forwarding anime episodes.
Dragon Ball Z
God.
is well remembered for its use of power levels, a concept where somebody was scanned by an alien device and their abilities in battle were given a numerical value.
Sure.
カロットの戦闘力はいくつですか ?8000 以上だ
In the story, several characters believe that if two people enter into battle, the one with the higher number should win in all cases. DBZ's fandom is also notorious for caring a lot about these numbers.
People love
and
the
countless
power
playground
scalers, yeah.
arguments
Well, the
used to
funny thing with DBZ is there is a number of techniques like the Destructo Disc where power level is actually non-existent. Like, prime example of this is Krillin using it against Frieza. He cut Frieza's tail off. Like, no issue. GT's the Z sequel. But the Destructo Disc canonically does not give a shit about power level, basically. It will cut anything.
analysis and forum battles went underway trying to ascribe every character an accurate number for every single point in time, and therefore who would beat who. But what everyone seems to forget is that the main focus of power levels in the story, other than to add tension, ended up being showing how unreliable they were. The villains are the only ones in the story who routinely scanned for the number, and the number was rarely accurate. This was due to the main characters being able to suppress and focus their energies, the heroes rarely being scanned at their peak,
Yeah, also you have things like Kaioken.
and even in instances where one fighter was very much definitely lower than the other, they still often won, due to strategy, teamwork, or some kind of specialized skill, knowledge, or training. The characters who relied solely off
No, Kaioken could be scanned. It's just usually the scanning was done at the start of a fight when no one was taking anything seriously. Right? Like a lot of Dragon Ball fights are how long can Goku not be doing anything seriously? How long can Goku fight this enemy in his base form?
the numerical advantage, especially those who based it off outdated readings, fell victim to practical experience. Toriyama eventually dropped the numbers from the story entirely because they became too tiresome to keep track of, and by that point of the story...
They also started getting to stupidly high numbers. Like, when we were getting... Even just post-Frieza, the numbers were getting stupid. And, like, we're like... At this point in the series, we are, like, multi-millions.
The remaining characters cared about
Probably
the number anyway.
hundreds of millions
My
at this
Anime
point.
List, AniList, and all these other list sites are just like power levels. Sure, they can be fun to compare, and they're ultimately very useful for keeping track of one's progress. And yeah, someone with 1,000 probably does know more about anime than someone with a 5.
Sure.
But they ultimately lack true, practical application. They are easy to change, cheat, or lie through, are not always accurate or up to date, and ultimately have zero impact on someone's knowledge or insight into anime, production of anime subgenres, Japanese culture, or media theory at large. If people don't stop fussing and gatekeeping over the specifics of comparing number 1 to number 2, then we'll forever be stuck on
Pee
that
and poo?
playground, arguing whether it was Goku or Vegeta who won that battle. When the real answer
The answer is Goku in 100% of the cases.
Yajirobe.
I don't agree with all of his takes, but I think it was fun. I like how One Piece bounties work because they don't function exactly like Dragon Ball. Many factors can affect it besides individual strength. Yeah, I think the I think bounties have always been an interesting system because good example being Chopper, right? Chopper's bounty has always been Chopper is a pet. So, actually, I don't know. Has Chopper been given a real bounty at this point? Or is he still treated as a pet? Let's go to the wiki. What is his bounty? No, he's still a pet. Chopper still has a bounty of 1,000. Let's go to... What is Usopp's bounty at this point? Usopp's a funny character, right? Because Usopp is incredibly powerful in the One Piece story. The problem is he's around the strongest people in the entire canon, right? Usopp at this point of the story would absolutely wipe the floor with, I would say, like, relatively far past time skip Luffy. But because Luffy and Zoro and Sanji are so much higher, like, he's still, there's still this idea that he's just not that strong. The bounty used to be 50, so Chopper's actually went up. It did. It 20x. It did 20x. What is Luffy's right now? I actually don't even know. See, this is my point, right? What is that? 3 billion? 3 billion. When was Luffy's 500 million? Dressrosa. So, obviously, bounties and power levels not exactly the same thing, but, like, if you're going to use them as a similar thing, somewhere around Dressrosa, Luffy, it'd probably be a bit before that because Usopp doesn't have armament haki. Probably, I don't know, somewhere more around, like early time skip probably. But either way, the point being that, like, Usopp is actually a really powerful character at this point. Everyone else is just, like, you're fighting the strongest people in the series. Usopp looks like nothing compared to them. Same with, like, Nami as well. What is Nami at this point? Okay, she's only at 366 million. Okay. Anyway, we've run, like, a bit over the end of when I would normally end stream. So I think we're gonna check out there. Tomorrow we have more of Shenmue. Frankly, I'm surprised I've actually been kind of vibing with it. I'm kind of actually liking Shenmue 3. I didn't think it would happen. Shenmue is growing on me. It certainly is. I don't know what we're gonna do next. I might take a break from Metal Gear after we finish 2. And obviously we'll need something different than Shenmue after Shenmue. I don't know what we do. I'm not too sure. We could do, I don't know, we could go play Judgment. That would be interesting. We could go play Like a Dragon. We could play Death Stranding. That's true. We could play Death Stranding. Final Fantasy binge 1 to 13. That's gonna take us a few thousand hours. Norman Reed is shouting Pecco. We'll work it out. We'll work it out later. Anyway, we got a couple of streams. Couple of streams of Shenmue left. I don't know how. Shenmue 3 time to beat. About 25 hours with the main story, 50 with 100% completion. Okay. So we've only got a couple of weeks left to Shenmue 3. MGS 2 time to beat. Okay, we're probably... I'm going to guess we're, like, maybe a stream away from the end of MGS 2. Because we did hit the final save point. So probably next week we'll finish MGS 2. Yeah, I was thinking Like a Dragon. Like a Dragon's definitely definitely up there. So we might do that. I don't know. We might go play Judgment. That could be fun. I've not played Judgment yet. Go play the other RGG series that sadly is probably never going to get a sequel. Yeah. So that's going to be it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you're not seeing today's video on Power Wash Simulator 2, if you're not seeing today's video on the Minecraft Whaling Compositor, do go check that one out. And I guess until then, I'm going to go. So be good, be safe, and I am knocking shit over apparently. Bye-bye.